It was a cold and foggy night as I sat behind the wheel of my trusty taxi, waiting for the next customer to flag me down. Being a night shift driver had its perks, but it also meant dealing with some strange and eerie passengers. Little did I know that this night would be the most horrifying of them all. The dimly lit streets seemed deserted, with only the occasional flickering street lamp illuminating the eerie mist. I glanced at the clock on the dashboard. It was nearing midnight. Just as I was about to give up and head back to the taxi depot, a figure emerged from the shadows and hailed me down. A shiver ran down my spine as the man's pale face and sunken eyes reflected in the rearview mirror. "Take me to Rosewood Cemetery," he whispered, his voice sending chills down my spine. I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to turn him away or take the fare, but the need for money outweighed my unease. So I reluctantly nodded and started the meter. As we drove through the desolate streets, an uncomfortable silence filled the cab. I tried to focus on the road, but a strange feeling of being watched washed over me. As we approached the cemetery gates, a gust of wind rattled the windows, and the man in the back seat chuckled softly. His laughter was a haunting sound, like the cackle of a ghost from a forgotten tale. My heart raced as I pulled up to the entrance, and he stepped out, vanishing into the darkness. Before I could catch my breath, the radio crackled to life, emitting static and a distant voice whispering, "Leave this place!" Before it's too late. I turned off the radio, trying to dismiss it as a mere malfunction, but doubt lingered in my mind. I took a deep breath, my trembling hands gripping the steering wheel, and decided to venture further into the cemetery. The path was lined with crumbling tombstones, casting eerie shadows in the moonlight. Each turn I took seemed to lead me deeper into an unsettling realm. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of the car, causing me to slam on the brakes. I peered through the windshield, heart pounding, only to realize it was a young girl dressed in a tattered white gown. Her pale face was stained with dirt, and her eyes held a haunting emptiness. "Please help me," she pleaded, her voice a ghostly whisper. Unable to resist her desperate plea, I unlocked the door, and she climbed into the back seat. The air grew colder as she settled in, and an ominous silence filled the cab once more. Her presence felt otherworldly, like a specter clinging to the realm of the living. I glanced at the rearview mirror, and my blood froze in my veins. The girl's reflection had transformed into a hideous apparition, her face contorted and twisted with malevolence. Panic surged through me as I accelerated, desperate to escape this nightmare. As I sped through the cemetery, a barrage of shadowy figures appeared in my headlights, their hollow eyes fixed on me. Their hands reached out, and I swerved to avoid them, but it was as if they were made of smoke, passing right through the car. In a final act of desperation, I uttered a prayer and slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched, and the girl's ghostly form was flung from the back seat, disappearing into the abyss. The eerie figures surrounding the cab dissipated, leaving me alone in the silent cemetery. Trembling and shaken, I started the engine again and sped back onto the main road, never looking back. I had escaped the clutches of the supernatural, but the memory of that night would forever haunt me. From that day on, I vowed never to drive through Rosewood Cemetery again. The chilling encounter had left an indelible mark on my soul, a reminder of the unseen terrors lurking in the shadows. And so, the haunting fare I picked up that night became my most terrifying taxi driving horror story. A tale I share with fellow drivers as a warning to heed the signs and never underestimate the power of the unknown.